Hi, this is Jason Humphrey with the Fretwork Network. Today we'll be taking a look at the Stratocaster. We'll be comparing the Squier Stratocaster with the American Standard Stratocaster. The Stratocaster was designed by Fender, released in 1954, has been pretty much unchanged ever since, with the exception of a few pickup changes and custom models. Overall, it's a double cut body, 3 single coil pickups on most. Some will have a humbucker. 1 volume, 2 tones, originally had a 3-way switch, was converted in the 70s to a 5-way switch for more pickup configurations. It has a tremolo system on most, some are without, and it's called a hardtail. Those with the tremolo will have a cutout in the back for the springs. The Stratocaster has a maple neck that bolts on. Typically the fingerboards are maple or rosewood. Some have used ebony, palfero, and Indian laurel. Headstock has 6 tuners in one. Typically, the truss rod adjustment is at the top. Originally was at the bottom. It has what's called a skunk stripe down the back. It's a piece of hardwood that keeps the truss rod in place. The American models have what's called a tilt neck adjustment, so you can actually pitch the neck with an Allen wrench. The bodies were made from alder or ash, this one being ash. The Squiers, on the other hand, are typically either poplar or basswood. There are a few models that have different woods. The Squier basically is just a less expensive import model of the Strat. The Squiers were produced from 1982 until present and have been made in several countries: Japan, Korea, Mexico, China, and Indonesia. The parts are typically a little less expensive just to keep costs down. This one has 2 singles and a humbucker, same configuration with a volume and 2 tones, tremolo bridge, as opposed to this one with 3 single coils, same controls, and a 2-point tremolo bridge. The big difference in the bridges, this is a typical Squier bridge. Thin and kind of lightweight. The American bridge is a little bit heftier, a good bit more weight. Usually the bent steel saddles have Fender stamped in them. This one is a 6 screw as opposed to this one with a 2-point pivot. Okay, first let's take a look at the headstocks. The basic Fender shape that was designed in 1954. It has pretty much stayed unchanged, except for a few years with an enlarged headstock from the late 60s through the 70s. The Squiers use just a standard tuning key. As you can see there, just a basic, what's called non-sealed. The back can come off, you can expose the gear. Whereas the Fender has a sealed, they're filled with grease so they run smooth. They're also staggered, so there's no real need for 2 string trees like they originally had, like this one has. This one's taller and goes down to a shorter to adjust for the string length. Fingerboards, this one's rosewood, this one's rosewood, this one's maple. The frets, these are more of a vintage style thin fret. These are more modern jumbo. The fret size affects your playability. People who like to play fast usually like bigger frets. If you press down hard, you will go sharp with big frets because it will have more space between the fret and the fingerboard. Pickup wise, originally Strats had 3 pickups, 3 single coils. Occasionally we'll find one with 2 singles and a humbucker in the bridge, and in some instances 2 humbuckers. On the Squiers, the single coil pickups and the humbuckers typically are a ceramic magnet. They're less expensive to make and just produce more power because of the magnets, whereas the Fenders typically use an Alnico magnet. Alnico is aluminum, nickel, and cobalt, and the magnets produce a warmer sound. The tremolos, these have a large block and 6 screws that pivot. Whereas the American, the newer ones have a 2-post in the bent metal. The bent metal has that classic Strat tone to it. The thicker the saddles, the more sustain you'll get. But these give that twangy Strat sound. The controls, one volume, which controls all 3 pickups. You have a tone that goes to the neck, a tone that goes to the middle. Typically, there's no tone attached to the bridge pickup on a Strat. There are a few with what's called the grease bucket circuit that actually put a tone to the bridge pickup. They originally came with a 3-position switch. You had bridge pickup, middle position, and neck. In the 70s, people found that you could wedge a pick and hold it between the two in-between positions to get these two or these two in combination. People started modifying by putting a 5-way switch in, and Fender went to the 5-way switch, which gives you more tonal variations. The Squiers typically have always had the 5-way switch since they were introduced in '82. Internally, the internal components of a Squier typically are Asian-made pots, which are called the dime-sized pots. The Americans use a CTS pot, which has higher tolerances for the sweep and are much more quality. So these are the major differences between the Squier and the Fender. More beginner, more advanced. Both are easy to modify. A lot of people will buy the Squier, modify it, new pickups and controls, upgrade all the hardware, and will be closer to the American Fender. And some people even take the American Fenders and modify to their specifications. The Squier, being a less expensive version and more for beginners, usually in the $150 range up to $400 or $500, depending on the model and specifications. Whereas the American typically run $1,200 and higher. And then you get into custom shop, which is in the thousands. Either way, both are great instruments, more beginner, more advanced, but both easily modifiable to meet your needs. If you have any questions, comments, or requests for future episodes, please respond below, or you can email us at the Fretwork Network. To get notified of all future videos, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. My name is Jason Humphrey, and thank you for watching.